folks, and welcome back. Just a short video this week on the good old Zebra billy can. Here I've got a 12cm Zebra billy can. These things are absolutely brilliant, very popular within the bushcraft and outdoors community because they're robust, they're simple and they're cheap. They have a bail handle that folds down, they've got a decent lid, close fitting lid, they have an insert steamer dish which you can use as a bowl or whatever you want. And apart from that, there's not a lot to them really. Stainless steel, they've got a rolled lip around the edge there, so you can use a pot gripper if you want to. And yeah, they're just great. They come in different sizes. There's a 10cm, slightly smaller than this one, up to a 16, I believe. But the 12 is ideal for one-man use. If you're cooking for more than one, or you're cooking big meals, then a 14 or a 16. They are absolutely superb bits of kit. But like with most good things, there is a flaw, and that flaw is with the hinge on that bail handle there. When you buy your Zebra billy pot new, it'll come with two little plastic clips which clip into these little holes here and hold that handle upright and hold the lid on. But being plastic, they're no use over an open fire. They'll just melt the first time you use it. So what we need is a solution that's going to keep that bail handle in the upright position but isn't going to melt. I'm going to show you 3 different ways of solving that problem. 2 of them involve keeping the original bail handle, and 1 of them involves taking that off and replacing it. The first modification is to make a simple wire clip which will sit on the side here and do the same job as the original plastic one. It'll hold the handle in the upright position when you're using it over a fire, and it'll hold your lid on. So if you're baking in it and you've got your Zebra pot horizontal like this, it'll stop that lid from falling off because there's nothing to hold it on otherwise. There are loads of tutorials for making these clips on YouTube, so go and check those out as well, because there may be some tips that I don't cover in this video. Things I'm going to need for this first modification are some wire cutters, pliers for bending the wire, a marker pen for marking out where the bends are going to be, and the wire itself. I'm going to use a stainless steel brick tie for this. I work on building sites and these things are always left lying around, so I pick them up because they're super useful and they don't cost me anything. And I'm also going to use a small vise just to help with bending the wire. The first thing I'm going to do is measure 40mm or 1.5-inch from the end of my bit of wire, make a mark. I forgot to mention tape measure on the list of things you'll need, and then I'm going to bend that at right angles. I'm then going to make another mark so that the bend I make creates a U shape which matches the width of the handle. I'm then going to bend over the top of that U, so I want to bend about 5mm of that, and I'm going to use the vise for that because it's a lot easier. I can clamp it to hold it still, then I can bend those over. And then you can just give it a helping hand with a hammer. This is how the clip is going to work. It'll grip onto that lip around the edge of the Zebra billy can lid, and these will then be folded and bent into those holes. So it wants to be quite a nice snug fit on the handle itself so that it grips when the clip is pushed back towards the handle. That'll become more clear in a minute. So the next thing is to make another bend so that that wire goes into that hole. I'm going to cut that off about here because it's too long at the moment, and then I'm going to bend the other side to match it. So there you can see how it works. I put a clip on both sides so that holds that lid now in that upright position. And they also mean that you can secure your lid in place if you're baking, and the lid won't come off because those clips grip onto that lip. For the second modification, you're going to need some cable cutters again, a flat screwdriver, a knife, a craft knife, Stanley knife, some of these electrical terminal connections, and some bicycle brake cable. This next method is quite a bit simpler because you haven't got to bend wire into a particular shape to fit around this handle or anything like that. We're just going to make a simple loop out of braided cable, and that's going to hold this handle in that upright position. We're going to use one of these electrical connectors, but I don't want the plastic. All I want is the metal bit on the inside with the two screws on it. So I'm just going to carefully trim that plastic away. So all I've got is the metal bit on the inside there. That's the bit we need. I've clamped one end of the steel cable in that electrical connector by tightening down that little grub screw, and then I'm going to cut the cable off so that I've got 50mm or 2 inches of cable after the electrical connector. Cut it off there. Pass that through both holes in the handle bracket, and then the hardest bit, which is feeding that cable back into the terminal block. It does help if you sort of pre-bend the cable a little bit with your pliers. So that loop allows the handle to fold down as normal, and then when you want to lock it in the upright position, you just flick it up and it has a kind of spring effect which holds the handle in place. So it's simpler than the wire loops, but it is a bit fiddly getting that cable in and secured. One thing it doesn't do is allow you to secure the lid on. There's nothing to, to hold that in place. But if you're not planning on baking, then that's not really an issue. That will just stop your handle from falling down in the fire and getting hot. And the third option, which is what I prefer to do, is to get rid of that bail handle altogether and replace it with stainless steel cable. For this modification, you're going to need something to get rid of the rivet that holds the original handle on. I used an angle grinder, but you could use a hacksaw and saw it off if you wanted. You're going to need some pliers, cable cutters, some stainless steel cable, electrical connections if you want to go down that route. I prefer to use brass tubing, a punch to knock the remainder of the rivet out of the handle, and a hammer, and tape measure for measuring. With the handle removed, we now have the hole where the rivet was that held the original handle on, as well as the original clip holes, and those are the holes we're going to be using for this modification. To attach your cable to your billy pot, you could use electrical connectors, just like I did for the second modification, and you can just cut off those grub screws and grind them flat, grind them flush for a neat finish. But I prefer to use brass tubing. You can buy this by the length on eBay. I'll put a link down below for the size, and it just gives a neat finish, and it's much easier to do. You just crimp it, and that holds the cable. I've cut 2 short bits of tubing and just deburred it using a file, and squashed it slightly to create a kind of oval shape. That makes it a lot easier to get the cable through. I'm going to start by threading the steel cable through the brass tubing and then through the 2 holes in the side of the bracket. And then thread that steel cable back through the brass tubing again. And push it up tight. And then you can crimp that in place carefully using a pair of cable cutters. And repeat on the other side. So there you go. You can still hang your pot up over your fire. The handle doesn't fall down when you aren't hanging it up. And when you want to pack it away, the handle just folds down flat against the side of the billy can. Much better than the original, which sticks out and becomes much more awkward to pack away. If you want to use the billy can on its side to do some baking using it as an oven, you can secure that lid, keep it in place using the bail handle, just by tucking it through the lid, the handle on the lid, and that will hold it in place, keep that heat all trapped in. So there you go, 3 solutions to the Zebra Billy Pot floppy handle syndrome. I prefer the last option, just replacing it with a steel cable for the bail handle. I hope you found that useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.